if you think about momentum marketing or the idea of compounding, is that when you build something, it's worth something. And then you build on top of that, it's worth more. So if you think about podcasting as an example, or doing video, when you have that video up there, it's out in the marketplace, it's worth something because it's still valuable. And when you get the second piece of content, the third, the 10th, the 20th, the 50th, the 100th, in our case, the 400th or 500th, whatever, it's worth a lot. There's a ton of credibility in the fact that Matt Halloran has done a lot of podcasts, as has ProudMouth. It's a big deal. That marketing has equity. It is lasting value. If you were to do other types of marketing, more push-oriented marketing, because the podcast is what we call pull marketing, push marketing sometimes doesn't have lasting value. If it's all you're doing, your marketing, you're not building any marketing equity.
Hello and welcome to another Top Advisor Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Halloran. I got Kirk here. It's been a while since you and I podcast, brother.
It has been.
Like a really
You know why? Because we're busy building a company and we don't want to be a normal, regular company. We want to try to be great. And that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But
we've carved out some time.
I know. But as influence experts, we are really dedicated going forward to setting a wonderful example and building actions and habits that do that. Having said that, even though I haven't been on here, we've been rolling like crazy. So we didn't get away from it. And luckily we've got two of us, but we find a way but we're going to get back to it here. So what are we talking about today? We got some fun stuff today.
Yeah, we got some fun stuff. So this is going to be fun. This isn't even going to feel like we're, doing a podcast, because this is the sort of stuff that you and I talk about all the time when nobody else is really paying any attention. And we're going to talk today about the financial adages, colloquialisms, if you will, that financial advisors use on a regular basis and how applicable those are. What you as an advisor say to your clients, and the things that drive you crazy that you have to say to your clients are so similar to the sort of stuff that we say in the world of marketing. And we're going to address each of those today.
Absolutely. So I'll go first. And before I go, I want to say, look, we're having fun with this, but we're not really pointing fingers.
No.
Everybody has hypocrisies in their life and their business. And we just shared one of ours, right? I don't know if it's hypocrisy, but whatever. We're going to have some fun with this, but these are serious things and they're true. And our job here, one of our big missions and purposes for Matt and I, is to help people understand what marketing should be, what it really means. And if you own a business, until you really understand the purpose of marketing, like you really understand it, you're never going to be that successful at it. And we have learned that. We're trying to share that wisdom, those experiences with everybody. And this should help us. This will give you an interesting perspective on how we think and how you think. Because if you're a financial professional, you've been here, done what we're about to do with you. We're kind of calling you out on you doing it for your audience and being wonderful professionals that you are. We're going to do the same thing. Yeah. So the first one is, this is one of the most commonly used phrases in financial services. It gets worldwide coverage, probably every day, a couple hundred times. And it's the philosophy of buy and hold investing, or investing for the long term.
It just amazes me, Kirk, that advisors probably, now that they're hearing that, are like, dude, I say that in every client meeting, right? We say that in every client meeting also, because we believe we haven't really branded this, but you and I were talking about this a couple of days ago, slow marketing, right? Yeah. Really great marketing starts slow and gains momentum over time, just like their investment portfolios. Yeah. It's the power of compound interest. That's what we're talking about.
Slow doesn't sound great, but slow cooking does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Healthy, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But what does sound better is compound marketing. But our favorite is momentum marketing.
Momentum marketing.
Having said that, not everybody understands momentum marketing, but momentum marketing is what you're really trying to do. So we can call it buy and hold marketing or compound marketing. Our preference is momentum marketing. And the idea with momentum marketing is that when you think of marketing assets or marketing equity, when you're doing marketing activities, are you building marketing assets and equity? So when you build a website, that becomes an asset that has equity, like it has value in your business, because the day after you put it up, it has value the next day or the day after that, right? So, geez, I'm not used to my mic in front of me. I've bumped it several times.
Okay, you're flailing with your hands, brother. Keep going.
Yeah, I know. We're videoing this as well for people who are just hearing it on audio. Hopefully, it works out good. I combed my hair today, so I look pretty smart. So now I've lost my train of thought.
No. So I know where you were going with that, right? And so the idea here, and you and I say this a lot, is the content that is created has value itself. It's like art.
Yes.
Right. It's in the same thing that you're doing, building a really great portfolio that has value over time. The content that you create, the website, the video, the audio, the blogs, the social media content, that cumulatively gets more valuable over time.
Yes, 100%. So what we want to do is, just, if you think about momentum marketing or the idea of compounding, is that when you build something, it's worth something. And then you build on top of that, it's worth more. So if you think about podcasting as an example, or doing video, when you have that video up there, it's out in the marketplace, it's worth something because it's still valuable. And when you get the second piece of content, the third, the 10th, the 20th, the 50th, the 100th, in our case, the 400th or 500th, whatever, it's worth a lot. There's a ton of credibility in the fact that Matt Halloran has done a lot of podcasts, as has ProudMouth. It's a big deal. That marketing has equity. It is lasting value. If you were to do other types of marketing, more push-oriented marketing, because the podcast is what we call pull marketing. Push marketing sometimes doesn't have lasting value. If it's all you're doing, your marketing, you're not building any marketing equity. So it's hard to create momentum. But momentum is what really gets you to the destination you want. From an influencer standpoint, that is having this celebrity or at least an authority level influence, and potentially celebrity level of influence. We're not talking about celebrities that you see in the media and fame and fortune, that kind of stuff. We're talking celebrity in your niche, right? There are plenty of celebrity influencers in financial services. So those are the ones that you can be that for your audience, in your industry, in your niche, in your geographic region. Yeah. So that's the first one. Hopefully that makes sense. What, you want to take the next one?
Well, no,
it's the same one. Sorry.
Yeah, we already talked about that. So the next one here is being diversified is the best way to be successful over the long term. So you take that one.
Yes. There are different perspectives on this. The first perspective is that diversification, it depends on who your audience is. And so you could have people in the same niche who prefer different media. So you want to diversify so that you give them what they want. So that's one of the ways. And well, as an example, if you're doing a podcast, why aren't you doing video? If you're writing a blog, why aren't you turning that into a podcast? If you're doing a podcast, why aren't you turning that into a blog? If you're doing a podcast, why aren't you cutting that up into little pieces of content for social media? So if you're doing a podcast, why aren't you doing a webinar? And before you do a webinar, why aren't you sending them your podcast so they can get to know you? And why aren't you talking about your webinar and social media? Why aren't you talking about your podcast and social media? And then why aren't you actually announcing your podcast and your webinar after? Go sign up. Like, there's so many opportunities. Those are just a couple of ideas. So think about diversification in your marketing, because I would say most advisors have some diversification in that. What do you think are the most common things an advisor would have? Everybody would have a website.
Yeah.
They might have a blog, but I would say 95, maybe even more. Let's go 99%. 99% do not have their own blog,
Right.
but
It's
they
not theirs.
probably
Right.
have articles
Right.
that somebody else wrote. Almost everybody would have social media channel. Maybe not everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe 80, 90%. And what are some other things that
Well, first off,
have?
80-90% don't have social media. I'm so glad of your optimism there, my friend, but that's so not the case. But most of them have done webinars or seminars, right? And almost everybody's shooting video. And I mean, that's very, very pervasive right now, because everybody from stages at conferences are talking about the power of video, but they're doing it poorly, right? And actually, you know what? That really goes into our next point that all of you advisors say. So I'm going to bridge this gap very quickly, which is, you know what? You can hire a discount broker, Mr. and Mrs. Client, but you're really going to get what you pay for. You're not going to get the advice that you need with a specialist who only focuses and works with people like you. Again, that's niche focused. But again, so Kirk, you can see how that parlays immediately into, yes, you can just grab your phone and shoot a video, right? But oh my God, when you get good lighting and you know what you're going to talk about in your practice and you know the distance from the camera and you've got really great audio, that changes the quality of things. So let's talk about you get what you pay for when it comes to marketing.
Yeah. I mean, if you're an expert in your field, right? We advisors preach this all the time, that they've spent a lot of time in their profession. Everybody thinks they know what a good investment is, how to pick a stock. People are scared about, in and out of the market, but they certainly, there's so much information about what you're doing, just like there is marketing. It's easy to feel like you have some sense. And there's people who would talk to you about, like, it's so simple, so easy to pick stocks and run your own portfolio. Just, listen to me here on Twitter every day. And the reality is you've got to find people that have been doing this. It's all they do. They know it. And when you're thinking about marketing, look for those people too, and look for people who are being genuine and authentic, that aren't over promising. I think it's a real big thing, is if you've got a company who's promising a lot, and yes, you want the things that they're promising, but are they actually capable of delivering those? And are those the things that you really need from them in the first place? What's really interesting over the years is anytime that we use the word lead generation in an article, it gets so many more hits. And to be honest, for the most part, we've avoided that over the years because we don't want to. But we've integrated it into our stuff. We talk about it a little bit differently. We talk about return on influence more than we do return on investment, because there's so many different ways to win at thought leadership sharing. But no doubt, when you're looking for somebody, find somebody who has grounded advice. They've been doing this for a long time. They understand how to work around the intricacies of your profession. And Matt, actually, you recorded a great little video today that had 3 points. They may actually be really pertinent for you to share right now, almost like a redo.
Well, I'll make it shorter than the video, but the idea is, many of you think that you know what you want to do in the world of marketing, but you just don't have the experience or the expertise. And I just want to put that into context. So many of you say, I've helped thousands of people retire. You only get to retire once. We've done 7,000 episodes for advisors and 250,000 social media posts. When we say, hey, don't start with 4 podcasts a month, you're going to burn out really fast. Guess what? We know what we're talking about. The second one, it has all to do with sponsorship. You are the sponsor of your show. It's brought to you by your financial services firm. Don't cheap out and want to try to get, defer the cost. And then the last thing is really experience, right? The fact that you have to have somebody in your corner who's going to help you get good behind the microphone. And if you don't
versus
have
just
that,
helping you push something out.
that's right. Yeah.
That would be not much different than what's a good example of analogy from an advisor to a client perspective there. Maybe giving them access, tell them what to do, but not access to software or vice versa, stuff like that.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things like that, but just being able to, overarching, make a statement about a specific product or service, but never providing them with any access to further education or the execution of being able to do that stuff. And I think that's what financial advisors get frustrated with all the time, Kirk, is there are all of these social media we call finfluencers, right, who are out there chirping in the ears of your clients, and you have to rise above that noise. If you don't rise above that noise, you're going to get your lunch eaten by some schmuck on TikTok.
We said we were going to be nice about finfluencers.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I went over the edge on that one.
They're not. They could be schmucks, but they could be well-intentioned and very intelligent people with a lot of experience who've had bad experiences potentially with financial professionals, trying to do their own thing, or they're talking about. A lot of times it's a perspective. So their audiences are people very similar to them and they've had similar experiences. So they're helping them, navigate that. So sometimes I think the intentions are different and sometimes schmucky, sometimes, purposeful, meaningful, contributions to society. But the reality is they are not, the ones who are typically doing this are not regulated, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I know lots of people that we know would prefer to do a podcast without that compliance, but that compliance is in your best interest. So I think do it within the context of your business model, unless you've been told you can't even do thought leadership, which is ouch. Going to be very difficult
when you move. It's just that simple. At some point you're going to leave, which actually really leads us to another point here, which is actually my favorite point, because I've heard you say this many times on this show, which is get into the market and invest now. So this is what advisors say to their client: get into the market and invest now. The best time to plant a tree or invest was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. So take that one.
Yeah. How many people put off doing something thinking they'll just catch up while they're started? I am starting to get worried for advisors who haven't even really considered thought leadership or who haven't started it. It doesn't mean you need to go hire a company to run a podcast, twice a month like ProudMouth, but you have to be exercising your thought leadership muscle. You have to get comfortable doing media. You have to set actions and habits to get that to record or document that thought leadership. And then you have to get practiced at packaging and sharing it. And if you're not starting to do that and experience that and understand it, you're missing all the opportunities to get the ROI or the return on influence, which are so powerful in a business. And Matt, do you want to go through the return on influence? I know you do fairly often, but it's worth repeating 100%.
Right. Well, and thank you for that, because I think you're right. And just before I jump into that, the idea.
You think I'm right?
Well, I do. I think you're right a lot, dude. Cheers to that, brother. So
I think you came up with the return on influence. We may have come up with the term, but I think you're the one who ultimately decided on the 5 things that you talked about.
Really? Well, good for me. I don't remember where a lot of this.
You're a pretty smart feller.
Yeah. All right. So return on influence. But very quickly. So I want to just touch on what you were talking about. The best time to start influence marketing was 20 years ago. Those advisors or those people who have 50 videos, 100 podcasts, a really robust social media thing, they are so far ahead of you because they have so much more social proof. But here are the 5 ROIs, 5 returns on influence. Number 1 is the best client communication tool you're ever going to have, right? This is the best way for you to build influence with your clients and stay top of mind when it's convenient. That also is that the content that you create has intrinsic value, right? And so that's one of the big returns on the investment. The second one, it's the easiest thing to refer to. In fact, Bill Cates, when he was on this show, and I talked to him often. One of the things that he consistently says to me is, Matt, it's so much easier to refer somebody to a podcast than call my guy. Right now, luckily, he has an entire program built around referrals, but part of that referral system is having thought leadership that you can drive people to. So that's number 2.
Absolutely.
Number 3, greater share of wallet, right? And so it's easier to sell an existing client a new product than it is to get a new client, right? And for some of you, you have the misconception that you have 100% of your client assets. You're wrong. 75% of you don't. That's actually just a statistical fact that has been played out repeatedly over studies with the general public. You have the opportunity to bring new ideas. And my favorite one is this. I'm going to digress just for a quick moment. One of our clients brought an estate planning attorney on. And he asked the estate planning attorney, he said, Jane, hey, do you have like a whole desk drawer full of trusts that have been signed and you've been paid on, but have never been funded? And Jane was like, yeah, totally. I got a lot of those. And he's like, well, what do you suggest that our listeners do? And she said, well, they should probably fund the trusts. And after that podcast went out, our advisor got phone call after phone call after phone call saying, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I've got $250,000 sitting in a bank CD that I was going to use to fund this trust. Can you help me put that to work? Oh my God, that's freaking printing money. All right. So that's number 3. Number 4, centers of influence. And this is my favorite one, hands down. If you use, we have grown our entire business with this model. All right. You bring on people who have greater audiences than you that are within your sphere of influence, who can potentially refer you business, and you get them to come on your show. Now, I want to say this, and this is very true and very clear. You bring on a really high-end CPA on your marketing podcast, your advisor podcast. That's basically them endorsing you as an advisor, because why would they be on your show if they didn't think that you were worthy of being a host of them and asking them questions? So you are getting basically the 2 words that you all hate, endorsement and testimonial, from a third party, right? Just because they're on your show. And then they share the show with their network. We call it concentric circles of influence. But the last one is what all of you want to know about, which is net new assets. If you do all of those things that we're talking about, use it as a referral source, create great content, build relationships with centers of influence, sell new products to existing clients, they are going to refer you into new business. And so those are the 5 ROIs. I hope that didn't take that long.
It doesn't. You said something I want to make sure listeners understand is you can look for guests to be on your show that have larger audiences, but you can get guests that have smaller audiences, but engaged audiences who are ideal audiences. And sometimes you can just find people who add a lot of value to what your clients need to hear and your audience needs to hear, and not even worry about it. And that happens. And we do that all the time. Sometimes we have somebody on who might not be all perfect as a guest and checking all the boxes, but they add a lot of value. We bring them on because we think our audience is going to want to hear about that. Yeah. And sometimes it even stretches a little bit outside marketing, and we just feel it's really good stuff and they're good people and we bring them on. So,
all right, we got time for a couple more. You ready? So the next one is plan, stick to the plan.
Oh boy. How many, I've seen stats, I'm not going to quote them, but I think it's less than 30%, if I remember correctly, are stats on how many financial advisors have business plans.
Business plan, not marketing plans, just business plan.
Yeah, well, what's really the difference?
I don't know. Joe Lucas would argue with you on that, brother.
Well, the difference is that
a business planning.
A business plan would talk about your business model and your services, but they're all interconnected.
Yeah.
And so, but let's just say a marketing plan. How many financial advisors have marketing plans? Let's just say 25 is the high end. It's not enough. You wouldn't advocate for a client not having a financial plan.
Right.
Although we all know financial professionals who don't care whether you have a financial plan because they're selling products. And this is the same thing here. Don't get sold a product, right? One marketing tactic that isn't part of a bigger plan that doesn't consider it. And look, a plan doesn't have to be a 20-page Google Doc. It can be a 1-page summation. It could be a mind map. just understand what you're doing, communicate that to your team or the marketing people that you're working with, or even just for yourself as a reminder. You don't have to refer to it every day, but you definitely need to be, you need to have a journey, like an end game, and where you're going and how you're going to get there. And then how long it's going to take, how much it's going to cost, what your expectations are, how things are going to work together. Make sure synergy is one of our rocket boosters, which is one of those 7 areas that we talk about. Is it have a synergy, all kinds of neat things, but have a plan. It doesn't take that long to do, but make sure you have one.
Yeah.
It's critical.
I believe that you should have a 12 to 24 month marketing plan somewhere written by somebody, if not you. And we actually have some great strategic partners in our PodRocket Academy who can help you create a really, really clear and succinct marketing plan.
Yeah, we do.
And we've got some great courses in there. But okay, so the last one that we're going to finish with today, which is my absolute favorite, is don't get investment advice from your uncle. And you and I hear this all the time. Like, I mean, don't get investment advice from your uncle, but elaborate on that.
Well, it's happening a lot, right? And I mean, it's happened just think about how many people were told social media is the holy grail of marketing for financial services. Just think about how many people told seminar marketing was the holy grail. Just to think about how many people were told a book. I remember this audio CD thing many years ago, came in a little package.
Yep.
That was the holy grail.
Dude, you used to be able to also send DVDs to your clients. Do you remember when that was a big deal, that you would professionally shoot a video and physically send DVDs to your clients?
There are people that say podcasting it's not the holy grail.
It's not.
It is not the holy grail. Video is a big one right now. Everybody wants to be on video, and you should be on video. But if you're just doing video and you haven't got all this other stuff figured out, right? No diversification of marketing. Video is going to be tough. From time to time, we come across somebody who has done a whole bunch of podcasts, who hasn't pushed them out to the world, hasn't spent any money sharing them, distributing and talking about their social media. Now some of those might have high net worth or ultra high net worth audiences, and they don't need to put it out on Facebook. They want to send them, privately. That's okay. But for most of you, 99.9%, you need to find the diversification, the synergy, and you need to have all kinds of marketing in place.
Yeah.
And that's, really the way it goes.
It's interesting that you took that way, because when we talked about this ahead of time, that don't get investment advice from your uncle, well, maybe I just took it in a very different direction. So I'm going to take that in a different direction.
That happens.
We're going to kind of wrap up. So what we hear all the time from people is, oh, I know a guy who has a band who has some audio equipment. They're going to run my podcast for me. Oh, yeah. Or my nephew has got 300,000 followers on Instagram. I'm just going to hire her. They're not experts. They're not professionals. They are in it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to take investment advice from my CPA. All right.
I know how to get you connections on Instagram. That's all you need. Let me just build up your following. Yeah. Follow what? You don't have any thought leadership. You're not doing any videos. Yeah. You don't have a social media person to consistently put it out.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of having an audience? And where did you build that audience?
And is that audience even the right people that you want? You don't want to have your nephew's Instagram following, because they're all probably Gen Z, right? I mean, they're probably not your ideal profile. Anyway,
another really tricky one is SEO. I've heard so many people come and talk about SEO, and the reality is SEO can work well for you, but the amount of dedication is significant. Anybody says they can do it quickly is lying to you. There's a lot of work. You have a lot of authentic content. You got to have content that's being searched. Some people are specialists, and the things that they need people to look for to find them, they're not looking for. They don't know. They don't understand your sophistication. They don't understand the problems. They're looking for simpler stuff. Now, if you're doing awareness campaigns and you're generating and you're educating people so that they can start looking for that stuff, that can be good. But SEO only works when people are searching for the stuff that you're selling or talking about. And if that doesn't exist, SEO is not worth doing. You could do it for some basic reasons, have a Google My Business, something like that, so people can find you and you've got some simple boxes checked. But going after SEO when it's not right for you and your audience and expertise is a huge waste of money. And how many people have been duped into that?
But that's the thing, Kirk. That's what's so frustrating to us as people who truly want to help advisors stop being the best kept secret in their area. Listen, we're sorry that it's not faster. Look, if we already are influence accelerators. We're helping you accelerate it as fast as humanly possible, and with a proven system and technique. Listen, if we could get you results in 6 months, man, Kirk and I would have signed up for that forever. We'd be richer than astronauts. Yeah. But that's not reality.
You know what's really interesting though is the longer you do this, the more power you have to accelerate.
Yes.
So one of the things that, that we're looking at, I don't know, I should be talking about this or not.
Well, hold on. So let's just pause because we're running up on time. So is this our next episode?
Who cares about this time? Where's this constraint come from?
27 minutes. You don't make me have to punch you. I'm
okay. Look, if our podcast is good enough and they get off the train because the standard commute or out of the car is 27 minutes or a walk.
No, they don't.
They're going to keep listening.
No, they don't. And you're the only weird person in the world who does that anymore.
Well, how many people have 2-hour podcasts and have huge numbers? People want to listen to them.
Because those people who listen don't have.
They're way jobs. More interesting than me.
Our people have jobs. No, here's the best part: is you and I need to do this more often. So I'm going to stop you there, and I'm going to make sure that we go ahead and whatever you're going with your brain, we're going to have as our next episode. Fair? You need to write it down because you're going to freaking forget those. So we need to write it down. Basically,
there's a certain point where you have enough content, enough assets that you can start running campaigns to drive awareness fairly inexpensively and very efficiently.
And that's escape velocity, right?
But you have to have done the work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do the work. Where did I hear that today? I was listening to Lizetta Rainey Braxton podcast.
I love her.
It was actually JAQ. Jacqueline Campbell.
Yeah.
She had, and I came across it in social media. What a crazy thing.
I know. Wow.
I follow people there. I look for who they talk about. And Lizetta, that's a huge mantra of hers. Do the work. She has different perspective on what do the work means, coming from her worldview. But do the work applies to a lot of things. And when it comes to thought leadership, put the work in. I don't know if you remember, but I know I'm going over, but I don't care because
I've lost
because I don't care.
Control of the show, dude.
I like you a lot, and you're a really wise dude. But sometimes,
just keep going. Just keep going. Whatever, man.
We have a book or a guidebook or PDF, ebook, whatever you want to call it, called 14 Marketing Tactics. Not marketing tactics. What the heck is the name of the thing?
I don't know. You wrote the damn thing. I know exactly what.
But I used to say the 15th thing of lessons or something like that. The 15th lesson is this. It's a bonus. It's a bonus lesson. And what it is that if you put the work in, there'll be a point in time where an opportunity comes along that you'll be ready for. That is if you have momentum marketing plays, when that opportunity comes along, you're ready to hit it. And I'm going to tell you something. We have done a lot of work and the opportunities are coming and we're ready for them.
Yep.
Most of them. But we're really close to being ready for all of them. It feels like that. And we're like 5.5 years into this thing, 400 episodes, very committed social media presence.
That doesn't count the 20 years that you were doing this before and the 6-7 years that I was doing this before, right?
Yeah.
That's what I want everybody to really glean from this.
And there are different thresholds of being ready, right? Because, before you and I met, I had momentum in certain things.
Yep.
Right. I had a good, but it was with a smaller audience. It was still, it was good, but we keep escalating that. But where ProudMouth is, and it's a really fun place to be, And we thank every one of you for listening to us and talking about us and hanging out with us. And I hope we can do more and meet more of you at events. And we're working on some other stuff I haven't even talked to you about yet, Matt, to connect with our listeners and our friends. Mm-hmm. But it's just keep at it, but don't think that you can avoid it and then just catch up. Right. It's really hard. You have to earn this. You have to do the work. It's not easy, but it is really rewarding. You learn a heck of a lot about yourself, about your thought leadership. I was showing somebody the other day my expertise doc, my visible expertise doc. I'm not sure why it's called that, but and I've got 173 pieces of content in there just from the last couple of years. And it's a great place. And I don't always throw everything in there, but most stuff I put in there. So it's a notepad, but you want to have something like that. At least start creating that. When you think of something interesting, something that your client talked to you about, something that you read and you have an opinion on, put it in there.
Yep. All right. The best time to invest was when you're 25 years old. The second best time to invest is today. You advisors say that all the time. You have somebody come in who's 55 years old who has not really even started. So what do? You do whatever you can to accelerate their investment so that they're going to be as successful. You tell them how long they need to work and tell them how much they need to invest. Marketing is no different. So for Kirk and for all of us here at ProudMouth, this is Matt Halloran. We'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.